All right, everyone. Now I want to go ahead and talk about what I recently fell in love doing in 2018, and that is podcast. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get my podcast off the ground, I had so many questions in the head. How do I record? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and other platforms people like to listen to? And especially, how do I even start monetizing my podcast? Believe it or not, the answer to every single one of these questions is quite simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it is 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with amazing sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. My experience so far on using Anchor is just simply amazing. I never knew that you can actually do the three most important things for podcasting for free: record, distribute, and most importantly, monetize. And so far, I am freaking loving Anchor at the very moment, ladies and gentlemen. Best decision I've ever made in 2019. So if you have always wanted to start your own podcast while making money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start and join me, the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchors.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
Chance, man, you made this.
I don't know if you heard, but I got a new inspirational and motivational podcast just for you as I share my valuable thoughts and rants of entrepreneurship and so much more. This is Limdimas, your host, signing in, and get ready to listen to another amazing episode of the Hustle Factory Podcast Show. Let's get this shit started. Hello, everyone, guys. Welcome back for another new episode of the new series I've started in February called My Motivational Rant Series. I finally got the name of that for that series. It took me a little bit long time than I expected. But you know, it sounds pretty good. It sounds pretty dope. But first and foremost, how are you guys doing today? I'm asking because I know for a fact that, we had this crazy coronavirus outbreak since January of 2020. And I just wanted to know if you guys are being safe out there and taking all the precautions needed to be safe out there. And, I don't mean like buying all the water, the food, and the toilet paper in your grocery store like a complete fucking maniac. No. By the time I'm recording this episode, guys, hopefully there's some sort of a progress being made when it comes to this outbreak, and hopefully the CDC and the World Health Organization, in short, WHO, will be able to come up with a cure or even a vaccine soon enough. And as far as I can tell, President Trump is doing all he can to keep this country safe from the virus outbreak out there. And hey, I fully commend him for doing so. At least he's doing something about it. So if you're one of those people who thinks he's doing jack shit, then shame on you guys. I'm not going to go that far because this is not a podcast about politics. Anyways, I've taken the opportunity for me to discuss something very important that I need to start addressing to you guys more often because I feel like it's about that time now for me and it's been a touch for a while. So let me go ahead and tell you exactly what's happening in today's episode. In the second episode of this series, I would like to discuss people buying all the dumb stuff all the time. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I will cross that line because I know for a fact that this kind of topic is somewhat can be very subjective depending on how you put it or how you interpret it. I mean, hey, you do you, mazel tov. So like I said before, I'll be discussing my very own entrepreneurial honest thoughts why people buy all the dumb shit you can imagine. And I'll also cover out why you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. And as usual, in this series, up starting in February, it's going to be like a 3-part segment where I talk about the nature of my rant, what causes or triggers them to do so, and finally, some additional final thoughts on it as well. What got me inspired recording this episode today is nothing too surprising, really. But I gotta tell you guys, it's just fucking mind-blowing. At the beginning of March, during the whole coronavirus outbreak that we got a little bit quarantined because everybody needs to stay home and so on, right? I somewhat accidentally discovered this old video by Gary Vaynerchuk from 2018, and he goes on in the video why a huge number of people buying dumb, expensive stuff just to impress people you don't even care about. And it's really an amazing video by Gary Vaynerchuk, and I highly recommend you guys to check it out and watch it with open-mindedness because it will just blow your mind. That's just it. Anyways, in today's episode of my Motivational Rant Series, I'm honored to bring and go ahead and give out my very own honest and most legitimate entrepreneurial thoughts about this kind of behavior. 90% of us do all the time. And I think it's about time for us to stop this nonsense and let's get real to ourselves. And before we get started this episode, guys, here's a quick warning about this podcast. Joe, hosted by me. This podcast does contain, it does contain a majority of me cursing out almost every single time, or perhaps I may something that I might offend you. So if you have a very thin skin and can't handle the truth, then unfortunately this is the wrong podcast for you to listen to. And this is especially not suited for the faint of heart, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're the kind of person who gets really offended easily, then like I said before, you have been warned. Also, if you're new to this podcast, make sure that you subscribe to this aspiring motivational podcast about entrepreneurship, and also hit the notification bell so you can get to see more episodes I drop monthly. Also, there's only 79.9% of you guys that are currently unsubscribed to this channel. So go ahead and help my YouTube channel grow and podcast grow like crazy by subscribing to the Hustle Factory Podcast Show. What's amazing is that in this YouTube channel that I've been growing so far, it's been growing at a good steady pace, and I'm loving the progress I've made so far, because on the last episode where there were only 91.7% of you guys didn't subscribe, and it looks to me that 20% of you guys from the last episode did subscribe to this channel, and I just gotta say thank you. And I really appreciate for the time taking the time to subscribe to this channel. Anyways, enough of me blabbering around. Let's get this shit started. Many of us have to do things that we don't like or love, but deep inside, we have something we want to do, but we cannot do it because of the responsibilities. And we gotta have a stable income. We have something to do, something because we have to, but don't love. The question is, what are the 3 main activities you have to set to move a step closer towards something that you love? That, ladies and gentlemen, is the main opening of this amazing mind-blowing video by Gary Vaynerchuk I was just talking about earlier. Do tell me in the comments below if you 100% agree with his statement. Because truth to be told, this is probably one of the most interesting things I've ever heard during my journey as an aspiring entrepreneur. And I know for a fact that this is probably one of the most subjective and perhaps most controversial episodes I've ever recorded, because I just have a different point of view when it comes to this kind of behavior. But where do I stand about this? Coming up, guys. Let's get real for a second or two here, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you have bought or invested in something that's so incredibly stupid as fuck to impress someone else that you don't give a fuck? So, how would you define as buying dumb stuff? Well, to me, it all depends on your perspective on it. But at the end of the day, I can assure you that it only lands only one perspective, and that is on the perspective of impressing someone. You don't care just because you are so fucking insecure of what other people tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here to go ahead and tell you how to live your life. Rather, I'm here to encourage every single one of you listeners out there to change your mindset towards spending on some of the dumbest stuff you ever imagined. You can go ahead and tell me that spending on a very expensive Air Jordans will make you the coolest and dopest college student in the campus. But guess what? Nobody really gives a fuck what you wear, and especially, is that going to make you happy? I'll go ahead and let that sink into your head and just think if having all this material items will make you happy in the end. Comment down below and let's see what's your take on this. And it doesn't have to be an Air Jordans. It could be literally anything. Literally anything incredibly stupid and dumb, Anyways, moving on. To truly begin, I'll go ahead and combine the first and second segment of this series into one, because I feel like I can go ahead and cover up this very nature of my rant, and especially what triggers them to do so. So it only makes sense to do. Plus, it will save me up some time on this episode, right? So what is exactly the nature of my rant? Coming right up. Well, as I have said before, this is a very subjective, and in my honest opinion, people spend their hard-earned money on the stupidest stuff they know, like a luxury car, new clothing line like a Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Prada, Chanel, and others, a new house. It's pretty much whatever you can think of just to impress someone you really don't give a fuck about. That's it. And honestly, what annoys the hell out of me is that many people out there who just somewhat hated their jobs so much, they'll go ahead and waste all of their hard-earned paychecks on the most ridiculous stuff you can think of. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the nature of my very own rant, and I truly hope you feel me on what I'm trying to say here. And now, let's get on to the next part of this. And before we move on, I'm not here to talk shit on you guys who work so hard on, if you're working like a 9 to 5, you're working on McDonald's, you're working wherever it is that you just hate, and you're buying all this dumb shit. What's exactly you trying to say, Anyways, we'll talk about more of that in a few. Now that I briefly discussed the nature of my very own rant, I believe it's time for me to discuss my legitimate, honest opinion on what triggers them to do so. According to Gary Vaynerchuk, 98% of people out there who just simply hate their job spend their hard-earned paycheck on the dumbest and the stupidest shit ever. And I mentioned earlier what type of things they typically spend on. And that is true story, ladies and gentlemen. And don't you even dare tell me that it is not true, because it is. And you know what? I couldn't agree more with my boy Gary V here. 100% fucking agree with him all the way. And I have no reason whatsoever to disagree with what he said on this video. There isn't a single reason why I should disagree with him, because everything he says is just straight facts, and he has such high level of humility and humbleness that he just knows exactly what to say. And that's why I highly respected Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's the real OG entrepreneur ever. Anyways, I want to briefly discuss more on this segment, because I can actually go forever telling you guys why people ended up spending their hard-earned paycheck on the dumbest stuff ever. But I'll go ahead and tell you the most important thing everyone should know. People who have a job they hate so much, well, they ended up spending on the stupidest and stuff ever. And this is for real. I know I keep saying this over and over again. I keep saying it because it's just really important. That's just it. And now, why did they exactly do that? Well, good question. But it's really simple why. They do this just because they have the huge urge to impress someone else, just because they are so fucking insecure of what others tell them so. Insecurity, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this is really beyond ridiculous. It's really ridiculous why you give a fuck so much on what others think of you. Like, you put so much energy, your own energy, thinking about what they think of you, you know? It could be like you're trying to impress your coworkers with a new luxury car, like a new BMW or a new Mustang, whatever it is, you know? Or perhaps you're trying to impress your friends with the newest Jordan shoes, or hell, even with a Gucci bag out there. And, there's just millions of other examples out there who exactly you're trying to impress someone. And you know what else? The people that they try to impress someone so hard, they don't even give a fuck about them. So what is the point of this dumb shit anyways, guys? I mean, please do tell me in the comments below, because to be honest, this doesn't make any sense at all. Like, why would you go that far buying some dumb shit that it's either you don't need? It's like basically they're forcing you to buy something you don't want just to impress someone. That's basically what I'm trying to say. What is the damn point of that? But anyways, do let me know in the comments below, because I'm very curious about that. As far as I can tell, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much the only sole reason that gets them to trigger this. Now, I understand that there are other reasons why people buy all this ridiculous dumb stuff just to impress someone else. And hey, that's the most important factor to know when it comes to what gets them to do this from the beginning anyway. Besides, there's one thing I wasn't able to touch on. Please, I highly encourage you guys to engage in the comments below and comment down the other reasons why people spend on all the dumb stuff you can imagine. You can also go ahead and tweet us back on our official Twitter account at H Factory Podcast, and I'll have the link to our Twitter page in the comments below. And I know I haven't been active there lately, and that's because I've been trying to be more active on Facebook and Instagram, because apparently I want to be more active there. I want to grow more audience and so on, But I promise you that there's going to be more amazing content coming up soon. So anyways, we're about to wrap up this episode soon. What are exactly my final thoughts about this kind of behavior that I see with these people all the time? Well, you know what? That is coming up right now. To finally wrap up the second episode of this new series, I've started since February, I would like to say some few important things to keep in mind about this impulsive behavior and mentality that just keeps bugging the hell out of me more often. Well, in a good way, that is. But before that, I highly encourage you guys to check out and watch the video by Gary Vaynerchuk that I mentioned earlier, because he gave such an amazing insight why people spend on the dumbest stuff ever. And trust me on this one, it will blow your mind. And perhaps you'll disagree with me or you'll disagree with what he said. But hey, you do you. You do fucking you. Mazel tov. Just it's all on you. So how should I conclude this episode? Coming right up. As far as it goes, I've discussed my honest entrepreneurial thoughts about this kind of behavior. And I do hope you enjoyed the content I've given out so far. So what do I think about it? Well, as far as it goes, oh, you know what? Matter of fact, do you guys remember the small introduction speech that I mentioned from the beginning of this episode from Gary Vaynerchuk's video? If you guys still remember it, then that's awesome. You guys are fucking awesome. But in case you already someone forgot it or you lost track of it, it's cool. Let me go ahead and refresh your memory with it. Let me go ahead and read that intro speech again. Let me just get my notes on it. 1 second. All right, here we go. All right, so from the beginning, the speaker says, many of us have to do things that we don't like or love, but deep inside, we have something we want to do, but we cannot do it because of the responsibilities. And we got to have a stable income. We have to do something because we have to, but what we don't love. The question is, what are the 3 main activities you have to set to move a step closer towards something that you love? Now that I mentioned that again, let's get back to the main gist. So at the beginning of the video, the speaker in the video begins by asking Gary V a very deep question about pursuing your passion and so much more, right? So as I said before, I'll go ahead and give you guys a little bit insight into his amazing video, even though even though I prefer you guys to watch it and see it for yourself. But you know what? That's perfectly fine. I'll give you a brief overview on Gary V's video. As a speaker asked Gary, what are the 3 activities people should be doing in order for them to move a step closer towards something they love, right? Now, that's an amazing question from a speaker, and it really intrigues my entrepreneurial mindset even more. So here's what Gary Vaynerchuk has to say about that question. Keep in mind, the following things will either blow your mind, so you have been warned. Let's get on to it. According to Gary Vaynerchuk, the 3 activities you need to start doing in order for you to move a step closer towards something that you love are: number 1, sell your house and go rent. Number 2, return your BMW and get a Toyota. And number 3, I'm not 100% about this, but I'm pretty sure he said something about positivity is the key. But do keep in mind the first 3, especially the last one. I feel like the last one is the most important tip by Gary Vaynerchuk. Positivity is the key. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. Really? Sell my house and then my luxury car and then trade it to a Toyota? I know for sure you'll be scratching your heads up wondering why in the hell Gary would say something like that, right? Well, I'm on the same boat too, but except I see it on a different perspective. But to me, I see it clearly on what he means by that, and I would love to expand further more about it. The way how I say it, ladies and gentlemen, is that make sure to take everything what he said literally. I mean, for real. I mean, believe it or not, it's much better than renting a house rather than buying a new home for yourself. Also, there's no point in buying a new luxury car like a BMW or even a Mercedes-Benz if you have a job that barely pays any of your bills and so on. And this goes to any brand of a new car as well. You know, just get a used car because the majority of the time, used cars can function so much better than a new car anyway. I mean, at least that's what I've been taught. Now, I understand if you guys are having some sort of mixed feelings about hearing this. And I mean, hey, I get it. But then again, you got to understand this from a perspective of entrepreneurship, ladies and gentlemen. Besides, I'm looking at this on the perspective of people having a dreadful 9-to-5 job that they fucking hate so much, you know, and that's real life story in there. After all, when is the last time that buying all this dumb stuff makes you any happier? And most importantly, does buying all this dumb shit in the first place make you pursue your passion in the first place? Just think about that for a few minutes, guys. In the end, ladies and gentlemen, impressing someone you don't give a fuck about is just so wrong. And honestly, guys, stop being so fucking insecure as hell and step out of your fucking comfort zone, because you'll never be happy, and especially you'll never be able to pursue what you love to do if you can't even avoid any of that. Real fact. And that is my fucking 2 cents to every single one of you guys. And that, ladies and gentlemen, are my final thoughts for the second episode of this new series. I'm so glad that I was able to record this episode because of all the coronavirus outbreak out there. But other than that, I'm so glad I was able to get it out of the way. And I've started this series like a couple of months ago. And I do hope that this episode inspires, motivates, and empower any of you guys out there who's listening there. So just one more thing. I was going to ask a really good question to every single one of you guys listening there out there. I was going to ask you guys this quick question. Do you ever spend on something incredibly dumb just to impress someone else? Whatever it is, make sure to comment below your thoughts about it, and as well as your honest thoughts about this episode, guys, because I'll share my thoughts about that. Because a couple of years ago, I guess when I was in still college, yes, I was spending a lot of dumb shit just to impress someone. I do that all the time. So that's my story there, but I want to go ahead and tell my story more about that in the future, you know. Well, other than that, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm trying to go viral out there. And also, don't forget to hit the notification bell to be able to keep up with the latest episode I uploaded on all the podcast platforms and so much more. And also, don't forget to listen to other podcast platforms out there like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and so much more. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and check the next recommended video next on the side of the video and so on. And also, go ahead and follow us back on our social media platforms out there. They're available in the description below. And one more thing, I want to go ahead and give a huge shout out again to Mack for able to make me use some of his songs for the intro and outro of this podcast show. And he's doing an amazing job so far. And as a matter of fact, he just dropped his new album a couple of months ago, and you better go ahead and check him out on his Spotify. So his name is Mack. So check him out as soon as possible on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Google, iTunes, and so much more. Well, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Be safe out there, and please practice common sense. Limdimas signing out.